Welcome to the Serene-ish podcast. We're two friends trying for serenity, but life happens.
I'm Larissa.
And I'm Brenda.
And we're glad you're here.
Each week we share honest conversations about navigating everyday life, faith, relationships, soul care, and all the messy in-betweens.
You'll hear reflections, a little laughter, and hopefully encouragement to find peace in your own journey, even if it's just serene-ish.
Okay. All right. So, Larissa, I have a question for you.
What's your question?
If Apathy had a mascot, what would it be? Would it be like a sleepy cat, a wilted houseplant, a really tired goldfish? And I'm putting air quotes for a little air thing. A really tired goldfish.
A sleepy goldfish.
A sleepy goldfish. If Apathy had a mascot.
Okay, the first image that comes to mind is a sloth. Like, sloths who are just, they don't care that much about anything, and they're not activated by anything. They maybe seem depressed or lonely, but maybe they're fine. It's kind of hard to say.
Right.
That's what I think of when I think of apathy.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah. That's a good one. Mine, there's this squirrel, and I'm assuming it's the same squirrel, that uses our fence in the backyard. I feel like that's the highway for some of our animal friends in the neighborhood. We've seen squirrels and possums go across there, and we have lots of fruit trees around us. So I think I always make this story up in my head that they're like going grocery shopping. But there's this squirrel that will be walking across our fence, and then all of a sudden just like flop down on the fence and just lay there, like literally straddling the fence, his legs dangling, and he's good. The first time it happened, I thought he died. He died.
Wait. Like he's on his stomach or his back?
No, on his stomach. And he's just chilling. He's just like, and I almost like, I see him do this and it resonates with my soul in the deepest way of like, I just wonder what kind of day he had. Like it must have been a day and you just don't even care anymore. I'm done. I'm just going to lay here.
Oh, man.
Because you see squirrels and they're always in a hurry, right?
Right.
Always in a hurry, They
have a lot of energy.
A lot of like other creatures to, run away from. We have hawks over here too. So he's just like, whatever. To me, that he would be my mascot for that.
For apathy. I feel like that image of that squirrel on the fence, like energy, and then just flopping down. That's how I feel at 7:30 p.m. every single night. I'm not kidding. That's how I feel. That's what I reach.
All right. Well, when he comes back again, I will send a picture. And I should go back on my photos and see if I can find one and put it up on our Substack so everyone can see this squirrel. I've done video of him, like, just pretty comical. All right. Well, today's conversation is, although we're starting out with a little bit of laughter, as we usually like to, it is actually going to be tender and it's going to be real. We're talking about melancholy, apathy, and hope. That quiet weight that comes when there's just too much happening. Like my friendly squirrel, there's just too much going on. Too much information, too many demands on our hearts. And we're going to share how that's shown up in our lives in the past or maybe even currently and what we've been learning as we navigate it and how God continues to meet us right there in the slowness, in the quiet, and in the not yet. So, okay, when you think about melancholy or apathy, how does that usually show up for you? Is it more emotional? Is it physical? Is it spiritual? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, let me start. That's a great question. Let me start by saying I don't think, if like you kind of just take people's baseline personality or kind of way that they usually are, I think melancholy is like really low on my list of ways I appear.
Okay.
And so like I usually have a lot of energy. I usually can make, decisions and move forward. I'm kind of like present. That's my general baseline. So if I have a day where I feel off and maybe more melancholy, it's really noticeable to me because it's not normal, right? It's not typical. And so not like I haven't experienced it. It's more, I think it takes me a little bit of time to even name it, like, oh, I feel more sad today, or I feel more apathetic or withdrawn. So yeah, I think for me, it probably shows up in like physical, like my physical energy first. If I'm feeling overwhelmed, like I kind of have a hard time maybe getting as much done as I normally do. And I'm just like dragging my feet a little bit or procrastinating on things that I normally don't stall out on. So maybe I feel a little more stuck.
Yeah.
And I think there's an emotional component too. Yeah, like I just feel a little deadened, if that makes sense, like less alive.
Yeah.
But again, like I think if you're like around me, like somebody who knows me, like my family members or my friends, I'm pretty sure I should ask Steve this actually, but I'm pretty sure it's hard to know if I'm in that kind of mood to begin with, because I think I kind of mask that, or like I think I just kind of still carry on in certain ways that's maybe more visible to people. So I don't know. How about you?
Oh man, I think it shows up in all of those different ways. Emotionally, it'll show up in there's a little bit more of a gray in my world, just a sadness that isn't like sobbing, crying kind of sadness. It's just gray. Physically, I don't have as much of an umph when it comes to just like going through the day. I do it. I get through it. Spiritually, when I'm in a place of melancholy, I'm very tender. I've noticed that spiritually, I actually tend to be even more connected. And that could be as a way of me trying to, like, I can't lean as much on my own resources because I'm feeling them a little like dull. And I'm really leaning in spiritually to what is happening around me right now. I do become way, way more sensitive when melancholy sets in for me. And what I've noticed is in my like more later years of life that melancholy has actually become a little bit more of a rhythm for me. I can't say it's like a cycle that I can tell you that, like, for every 4 weeks or whatever, this is what's gonna happen or something like that. Like, it's not like that, but I'm noticing it happening in my life more than I noticed it in the past. And it might just be just the nature of my stage of life that I'm noticing it happening. And I think at the beginning, I really tried to fight it because I wasn't sure if like, is this depression? Like, what's going on here? And then I realized that, okay, that's not what it is. There's just, and we're going to get into like some of the things that can feed into it. But it was actually something for me to actually embrace a little bit more because I became like spiritually more sensitive to that. And then apathy, here's where I get hung up, and I'd love to hear like how you handle this too. Sometimes I can mistake peace, where it is more of a sense of peace that is there, and I can mistake that as being apathetic. And I have to really work at, am I really apathetic right now, or am I just at a place of peace? And so, have you ever had to navigate those two?
Yes. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's tricky to know where am I withdrawn? Am I disengaged? Or am I connected and engaged, but in a way that is calm and content and not driven, right? Or like not so grasping at like what I want to happen or want to change. But yeah, no, those, I think there's so much nuance to that. I don't know. How do you figure that out? But yeah.
I mean, that's a hard one. Yeah, that's been my most recent wrestling of like trying to know the difference between the two, because if I'm not being physically active in something, I am always mentally active in those things, trying to problem solve, trying to figure these things out. And then when I find myself in a place of not doing that as much, it's almost scary. Because that's when I think, I'm like, have I just totally given up and I just don't even give a whatever like anymore? Like, what's going on? And where maybe it could be that my brain just needs a rest from it all, right? And it's just like, no, this is a place of peace. This is a place of surrender. This is you realizing you can't solve every problem in the world, but that's weird. It just feels
right. And I feel like back to, you mentioned this a little while ago, but like stage of life and actual age has, I think, a lot to do with at least what I've noticed in myself. I was a different version in my 20s when I had endless amounts of energy, yes, but like physical energy, but also like emotional and mental and social energy. And like I felt like I could change the world. And I felt like if every day wasn't filled with like purpose, I was doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, no. Let's run the long sustained marathon, because I cannot do that on every day. Right. Like it just, there's no way that's like, so I feel that. I feel a different stage of life that changes that reality for some of us. And anyway, it's hard to know.
Yeah. No, as I'm getting older, I think maybe I'm also just getting tired of just the constant of like having to budget our energy, right? In every stage of life that looks different. And so having to budget our energy and wondering if my body's almost in a way doing it like on automatic when we're hitting that danger zone. It's like, no, we're going to move in over here where we're just like literally putting, now that I'm thinking about it, it just made me think of this, like this whole image. So my car has this, it's a braking system where you can actually adjust when you take your foot off the gas, how it automatically brakes. Oh. So yes, it took a little getting used to. Trust me, it did.
But you can set it to what your preference
What my preference is. So you take your foot off the gas and it automatically starts to slow down. And if I have it on, I think it's called iBrake or something like that, it's like, it's going to break. So I don't want that. But, I could put it on level 3, 2, 1. And as I take my foot off the gas, the tension of it slowing down is more intensified. So you're not having to like, I guess, rely on your brake. So it's almost as if that's like what my body is doing. That it has this mode of, no, we're slowing down right now. And this is the intensity it's going to look like. I literally just thought of that.
That's good.
Yeah.
And it's like gauging the sensitivity level and then how to make an adjustment based on what you're noticing or feeling.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, when I'm in traffic, like on the freeway, I adjust that because I don't want every time I take my foot off the gas to feel like my head is jerking. Like, you don't need us to be quite as sensitive. So, you make the adjustments. So, all right. Well, as we were talking about like just like things like weighing and all of that, do you think that the constant stream of information and noise around us adds to this sense of like numbness or burnout or melancholy or any of these things? What role do you think that plays into that?
To me, it plays a massive role. I think. I mean, when you say that, I'm thinking the fact that many of us have lives where we're constantly dialed in to news cycles, media, voices saying what we should be paying attention to, calling for our attention. I'm not saying this is everybody, because I think people have different, lifestyles and limits and whatever. But at least in my average American life, I watch some TV, I have my smartphone, I work on my computer. I feel like all of those are like these little portals into the possibility of a million different things calling for my attention. So yes, to me, there's so many things that if I'm not intentional, it definitely adds to my sense of overwhelm, on the verge of burnout. And I've actually worked pretty hard in the last couple years to turn down the volume, to press pause, to turn it completely off, to give my attention to other things that aren't those high demand crisis things. Yeah. And even with all this intention, I think I still have days where I'm like, it's too much. Yeah. It's too much for me. What do you think?
It's so hard to escape it as much as you try to. Like, I don't know. It's just really hard to escape. I mean, my answer is yes, 100%. I feel like we were not built for the amount of information, the rapid fireness, I'm saying that right, but this is so quick, like so fast, the way that we get information, the amount of information that we're getting. And then now on top of that, we have to discern what is real and what isn't real, right? And, I'm not opposed to AI. There are things about AI that do scare me, though, because you're having to figure out what's real, what isn't real. We're having to figure out, so the information that I do get, and as quick as I'm getting it, I have to figure out how accurate is that information? Is that information biased or not? And it becomes a full-time job just to know if this one thing, this one article or this one post is actually true or not. And that's in the midst of, like, we all have lives. We have real relationships, and that are nuanced, and they have layers, and they have this, that, and the other. We all have these lives, and it's just too much. And I think the other part of it is that so much of the information that is coming at us is bad. It's just so sad, and I have to like intentionally look for like good news. Like people doing kind things for each other, and like figuring out a way to change the algorithm and just show me goodness happening in the world, and people, being good, kind humans. Just the basic stuff, Yeah. It can really start to make you think that there's nothing but darkness, that there isn't any light, which I know is not true. But that's all you're seeing and hearing.
Right. And maybe maybe these are things that are so obvious, but I think as I've really paid attention to like what's happening in our world, and how is information getting into us or disseminated to people, and what's true and what's not, like all the things that you just said, I think part of what I feel like, or what I've noticed is, one, the bad things, the complainers, the weird attitude, like just the hate, basically, and all the fractures, that's what rises to the top of the headlines. Yes. Yep. And that's what's the loudest from people, right? Yeah. I'm not going around yelling in a megaphone, like all the nice things I did for my kids today. Yeah, that's like, that just doesn't... Right, but
like, we need you to, Larissa. Please post something great you did for your kids today.
I'm not even using... Or like, the cute thing that somebody's pet did.
I'll repost that you baked cookies. Look, yes!
Look, humanity has hope. But right, it's like what gets shared and what's viral or whatever and what's the news. And so, right, I think that's part of it. So it's like, okay, just knowing that there's such a negativity bias already makes me like very wary of a lot. And then I was just thinking about this. I had lunch with a friend a couple days ago, and this is a really dear friend who's going through very, very hard and painful things in her life. And we were having lunch, she was sharing about what was going on. And as she was sharing, I was feeling so much like sadness and devastation for this person that I love and for the complicated situation that she's in. But that wasn't our whole conversation. And it wasn't only sad. It was how she's finding hope, how she's experiencing God and community in the midst of hard things. And so, and this is like a 2-hour lunchtime or something. And I think I left just thinking about that, and maybe in comparison to what we're talking about, like, I think we are as humans totally capable to walk through hard things, but I don't think we're meant to do it in the version that whole like ecosystem of like just the bad and none of the humanity or none of the compassion is even operating in. So I wonder, I guess that's a question that arises for me, like, well, what happens when we take some time, even in the midst of hard stuff, to listen to one another, to bear witness to other people, to sit with other people in their pain, yes, but also hear how they're clinging on to hope and hear what their life with God has been like in the midst of that. Anyway, there's so many nuances to that. And so,
and I know, like, jokingly I say, like, for you to post like something great you've done for your kids or something like that. At the same time, as you're talking, I am realizing, like, I don't know. If you were raised this way, like the way I was raised within faith is that if you do something good or kind, you keep that quiet. You don't announce that to the world, right? And I get that. I totally get, because then I've seen where people do these gestures and these kind acts of kindness, and you start to feel like it's more about them than the care for that other person. It's the kind of like, oh, look at me, look at me. At the same time, we actually right now, I think, need to see kindness being practiced so we can remember what that actually looks like and to do it, like to remember those things. And so I don't know if there's an answer to this, but is there a way for us to kind of get that out there in that space? Because I agree with exactly what you're saying. Like, that's what's taking up, that's what the algorithm is going to find. That's what feeds, the ratings, is all of the bad stuff. Those are the things that are going to go viral. How much power do we have based on what we're actually sharing within those spaces? Like, do we have any power to change that? If we started just really just flooding those spaces with goodness and kindness and what it means to, like, hang out, show up for your neighbor, or to have a moment with your child in a way that isn't about, hey, look at me, maybe that's not even the person who did the act doing it, but the person who received the act sharing that. A friend of ours, their kids baked some cookies, and it was part of like a lesson they were doing. They homeschool their kids, and they're little, and so they were baking cookies, and she was posting their baking cookies, and I saw it, and I always hit the heart button, because those, like, the little kids, 3, 4, 5 years old, they're just scrumptious to me. They're just so, like, precious. And so I just love seeing them in there and remembering when my kids were little. And next thing I know, like, later in the day, I get a text message from her. Hey, is someone going to be home? The kids wanted to drop off some things. And I opened the door, and there was the little box of the cookies I had just seen them bake. And I ran out to the car, and because I didn't want her to get the kids out of the car seat. And I remember what that's like, And I'm talking, and they had the brightest smiles on their faces. Aww. They were so proud of it. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is great. And so I posted about it, and what they didn't know was that I was really sad that day. I think it was one of the days that I was dealing with the pinched nerve, and there was things going on with my mother-in-law and just health, challenges that were going on. It's like a lot of stuff happening, and I was just starting to really feel it, and I was sad. And the fact that they brought these cookies, that's all it was. And I posted about it. So now I'm wondering if it's like, if we're afraid of it looking like we're tooting our own horn, I get that. So maybe we're not the ones to say it. But for those of us who have been receiving these acts of kindness and these beautiful gestures, and you get a card in the mail or like whatever it is that looks like, or someone said something encouraging, what if we were the ones that shared that? And
that's really great. No, I love that, because yes, it's like you think, even if in the negative way, right? Like if I go around sharing hateful things, that's what I'm giving out into the world, right? But we have a choice to identify and see and experience the good stuff and amplify those things. And what a shift in, I think, for our own souls as we do that, right? Like you were having a hard day, but even in this conversation, I'm like listening to all these, like this, a way that you experienced care and grace that was extended to you. And I'm like, now I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what a beautiful human moment. Like what am I doing to add that kind of life and joy into the world today, right? And what are ways that I can do that with my kids? Like what an encouraging, beautiful expression of love. And yeah, you're right. I think there's a choice that we all get to make. Like, what are we sharing?
yeah.
What are we putting out there for others to see? And is there a way that we're adding good stuff?
Right.
Are we adding junk? Like,
Right.
I don't know. That's a good question for all of us,
More
right?
junk to the pile. Like, I think we all know
too
that
much
there's
junk.
a lot that's going on. There's a lot that's broken.
Yeah.
I already know. It was crazy how many times I see the same thing reposted, the same news report or something, and I just swipe, and everyone's reposting it. It's like, I got it. I got it.
One of our our key time as a family is at the dinner table, right? We've all grabbed our food, we sit down at the table, and almost every night, this isn't quite every night, but most nights at dinner, one of us asks, what was everyone's highlight of the day?
Oh, I like that.
And so simple,
Yeah.
but it kind of causes everybody to share, to like think and share, like, what was a bright spot today for me? And I know we could do challenges, and sometimes we talk about life like that too, but generally it's asking what the highlight is. And I think that has been a really good practice in the midst of not just hard things. I think our kids are, just in such a different stage of life, but I've noticed, especially for like one of my kids in particular, often sees the negative stuff. She often is, complaining about her life or telling us how many times she got hurt during recess. I know, that's her daily report. Anyway, but in my mind, I'm like, okay, even though that's her general approach to life, is there a way that this conversation can help like her notice something good about her day?
Bringing
maybe all of us need that.
No, I agree. So in the midst of that, what is it? Because I know we're talking about sharing goodness, and at the same time, we're not saying sharing goodness at the expense of like sticking our head in the sand, la 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 la, like there's something bad happening. So what does it look like for us to honor the sadness without letting it take over? Because I think that's what we're really trying to do. Like we're trying to not just turn away from the challenges. We don't want to do that. But the weight of that and the sadness, the melancholy, the apathy can take us over. And so what do you think, for you, how have you been able to practice honoring those moments when it happens and not letting it overtake you?
I don't think I've figured it out yet, but I mean, I resonate with the question. Like, I don't want to be somebody who's so disengaged that I don't know what's happening for people. Yeah. I don't want to shut myself off from hard things. So already I share that value that's baked into the question. I think that's hard for me. you and I've talked about this before, but being empathetic and sensitive people who are very connected and connected in a way to very specific humans' lives, but also more generally, we believe in values of justice and liberation and see ways that that's not happening. So, right, we're involved in our communities in active, participatory kinds of ways. I think it helps me to know, like, okay, I know the main ways that I need to be engaged. And being so dialed into the daily news and the media cycle is not, I actually feel like it's not one of my primary ways of being engaged. Yeah. And so it took me a while to identify that, but I think it was helpful because I think for a little while I felt guilty for not being as dialed into the news cycle as, for instance, my husband, who's like always watching the news. And he's like, honestly, he's like my source of news sometimes. Like at dinner, he's like, did you hear about this thing that happened? And I'm like, oh God. But it, you know, we kind of joke about that. But I think I actually appreciate that setup. Yeah. Because I bear witness to a lot of painful things. And I am present. And I think what helps me too is like really listening to people and being able to shift or like know like painful things affect me in different ways. And just an awareness of that is helpful. Right. And I don't even know if there's any like adjustments I've made by noticing that, but
oh, that's good though.
Yeah, but I think there are times when I can also notice wait, I think I'm shutting myself off. Why is that? Yeah. And so maybe not being so quick to judge the days or the moments that I do notice that in myself, but just coming to that with curiosity. Like, is that a survival tactic? Is that a defense mechanism? Am I doing that out of fear about something? Right. And so asking kind of self-reflective questions of myself to dig a little deeper and see what's under there. And sometimes there's something under there, and sometimes it's just like, no, I'm just too tired to even, I don't have bandwidth to care that much today because I cared about other things. Right.
And that's okay. Yeah. Giving yourself permission that is also okay. Right. Oh, no, that's good. Yeah. Those are really good questions. I'm thinking about how you were sharing, like, the difference in who, like, watches the news all the time, who can't. Because Gerson's like that, too, where he can watch the news, and there's a particular person and voice that if I hear that person, like, on the news, it's just very triggering for me, and I don't want to listen to it. He can watch that coverage and it's like, it's not that he doesn't care. It's not that he's not concerned. It's not that it doesn't bother him. It just doesn't get into him as deeply as it gets into me. And that doesn't mean that he is better than I am. I am more better than he is because I'm my sensitivity level, whatnot. It has nothing. It's just that we're just different in those ways. Yeah. And that's where we get to partner. So like you're saying, like he can let me know of something that was seen on the news or he read or whatever. And I can ask questions based off of that. And if I want to get more information, well, then I can go and like look for that on my timetable of when I'm feeling like I'm ready for it. But I don't feel the need to like have to take in just like all the stuff and, all the time. So I think, I love that whole idea of us recognizing our personality types, how we're wired, even like what it is that we do in life. Because like you were saying, holding a lot of hard things like constantly, the nature of like what you and I do in some of our work is walking with people. Right. So we are sitting quite often with people who are going through difficult times and we're companions for them. we're soul companions for them as we're walking with them. And so as much as we're not totally internalizing everything, because that wouldn't be healthy, we are still human. And we're with them in the midst of the pain and the decision making and in their, gray moments and all of that. I think it's important to also recognize like, well, what is like our lifestyle? What was it that our vocations, and
Right.
to take that into consideration, right? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a huge part. So, if you were somebody who was really disengaged in your vocation for whatever reason, right? Maybe you're like holed up in a lab and like, doing physics stuff,
Right.
sciencey stuff, and like really shut off, then maybe it's, one might say like, well, maybe counterbalance that a little bit with other access points to humanity
Right,
stuff.
right.
But so I think the fact that, yeah, like you just said, some of us are involved in like deep human work, lots of pain,
Yeah.
helping, walking with others through hard things,
Yeah.
then probably what we need is a different counterbalance, right? We need the
Exactly.
counterpoint of disengagement, mental rest, physical, I mean, just all those things that you and I both
Absolutely.
know, like, oh, that's important for our, like, not just self-care, but like sustainability in the work that we care about.
Exactly. Oh, 100%. I love that. Okay, so we have hope in there. And so my question for us is, what does it look like? What does hope look or feel like when it's still like faint or distant? And kind of like explain that question. When I'm in a place of melancholy, or I'm afraid I'm becoming apathetic, and I'm still figuring out my apathetic / peace, what's the difference? I try to look for hope. But then oftentimes hope, like I said, feels very distant, feels very faint. And I think that's where I start to wonder, am I becoming more apathetic because I'm not able to see as much like hope? It just seems so distant. Am I losing hope right now? So I've had to reimagine, what does hope actually feel like in this space when I'm feeling more melancholy? So when you've been in those spaces where energy is just kind of, it's just lower, how has hope like look like for you in those spaces?
Yeah, great question. I think I've noticed that the gift of being a parent to my 4 children, especially our younger ones, is really a gift in those kinds of situations that you just described. And what I mean by that is, if you know, especially my youngest son or our youngest daughter, so our son is 6, our daughter is 10, both of them, they have so much, their joy is like so apparent, like daily.
Daily.
And they're daily. And their enjoyment of life is just so contagious. And so I think for me, that can become a real lifeline when I'm feeling apathetic or when I'm feeling disengaged or just tired and burnt out. I just playing with Austin outside, or like watching him draw. He's been into drawing the alphabet with sidewalk chalk on our driveway. And for some reason he draws the whole alphabet in like this little circular kind of line. And then while he's drawing the alphabet letters, he's like singing the alphabet to himself.
Aww.
Like he could not care at all about the news going on in the world, the crazy policies that are affecting everybody, all these like adults, the fact that our government is shut down, just like he's alive and he's enjoying his chalk.
Yeah.
So I think for me, those kinds of moments really feel hopeful.
Yeah.
Or like they generate life that is a reminder, like, okay, even though things feel really hard and complicated, life goes on. Like life continues and we're okay. We will be okay. And other humans in many other generations and times have faced incredibly difficult things.
Yep.
And we're all okay. So I think there's that. I also just, I mean, this is so simple, but I believe in the life of Jesus. And I know that Jesus lived through really hard times. And he discipled followers who also lived in really hard times. And so, like, politically hard, socially hard, hard for very, like all kinds of marginalized people.
Yeah.
So this isn't new. Like, our lives and the hard things that we're undergoing, it's a new version or a new iteration, but it's not new.
Right.
It's also kind of like the cycle of what happens.
Yeah.
And so I think the reminder or the hope in that is like, we do have tools to survive and thrive, and it's a matter of like finding those and being in community with one another.
Yeah.
So that was a really long answer, but
No, but I
those
love
are some
that.
of my thoughts.
I thought, yeah, I love that, especially when you're talking about like your kids. You know, for me, what I've had to do with hope is it's always sort of a reframing as to, okay, what actually is my hope in? What's actually generating my hope? And the thing that maybe I'm hoping for, it may not happen in my lifetime. So if that's the thing, like I'm going to live in a constant state of just disappointment and being disheartened. And so I have to, without losing the vision, look at, well, what is right in front of me today? And so when you were talking about your kids, something that really helped to, sort of be, what is it called when they put those pads on your heart? They kind of
defibrillator?
Yeah. We're saying that right? Defibrillator?
I'm pretty sure I did not
To
say
anyone
that.
who knows what that is, please forgive us. We are actually intelligent people. We just don't know how to say that word. We just don't know how. We just know that I see what I see on TV. Your body jolts, you come back to life. We're good. Yeah. Yay. So that thing put a jolt to my heart and brought me back to life was for Halloween. Our theme was the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, the Great Pumpkin, and all of that. And it's been kind of like a taking back of Halloween for us, because we would always do trunk or treat at the church that I worked for. And so, and it's great if, reach the community in that area and all of that. But I'm like, I was always working that, so I didn't get to go and have like those times going out into our neighborhood with our kids. And my kids are young adults, okay? Late 20s. And it's almost like a taking back of what wasn't there. And so we're dressing up and we do this whole theme now. And we did this whole like Peanuts theme out there. And we sit outside. We don't have them come to the door. We actually sit outside and greet the families and try to talk to them and the kids. And for those few hours that we were out there, and kids are just like walking diagonally across the street. Families are walking. And then it's the World Series that was going on. So you hear the TVs and everyone's screaming. And like, it's just a whole thing. I just had a break from everything that's terrible.
Yeah.
And it was just a moment of seeing everything that was beautiful. And I even in that moment, I wondered, does anyone right now care what anyone's political affiliation is? Right? Is anyone taking stock of this or that or whatnot? Like we could just be there together and laugh with each other and be kind and it was just great. It was just great to see these little kids and the way they were dressed up. I love all the little princesses, and they were just so adorable, so adorable. So aww. I think, what I learned from that was that sometimes I need to reframe what does hope look like and what is it that my hope is in. And the whole childlikeness, what you're talking about, what that meant for me. Even these little kids, my friends, bringing the cookies that they were so proud that was from a child, right? It's that reminder of like scripture and Jesus just reminding us to like not dismiss the children. Let the little children come to me, about the invitation to be childlike. And so I wonder if that's some of the invitation in when hope feels faint, that maybe we're not looking through the right lens. We need to switch that up a little bit. So
that's beautiful.
Well, I want to take a quick break and just remind our friends that if this episode is resonating with you, we'd invite you to come hang out with us over on Substack. It's called the Serene-ish podcast. Surprise, surprise. And we post bonus reflections, we share resources, and we host our listener chat in that space. And you can subscribe for free. So you just head over to Substack, and it's actually the Serene-ish podcast.substack.com. And we'd love to have you over there. All right. We're going to close up our time, but I wanted to just ask, like, if there's any like final thoughts, if someone's listening and they're in that space right now, they're feeling tired or numb or overwhelmed, what would you want to say to them? What's like maybe a piece of advice you would give them, a tool that you have found that really is like working for you that you'd want to share with them?
Mm-hmm. Man, I mean, it could be so many different things, but I think the thing that comes to mind is when we're tired and overwhelmed, that's something telling us, something in our bodies and minds saying, I need rest, or I need life, or I need something that's generative, not taking away. And so honestly, I don't think we need to just like bare knuckle it and then move through it. Mm-hmm. Don't like press on the gas. Right. Allow that to be a moment to listen to yourself. Like, why am I so overwhelmed? What's causing that? What's triggering that? What's the source? And then you don't even need to judge or critique that. Just ask that with some curiosity. And then you can ask a follow-up question like, okay, if I'm feeling overwhelmed today or in this moment, what is going to help me feel safe and comforted and restful and at peace? Mm-hmm. And I think that could be a million different iterations depending on who you are and your personality and what you love. But do something that feels restful. Yeah. Go disengage, turn off the news cycle if you need to, go for a walk, go call a friend, take a sick day if you can. I mean, you're just right. There's like so many ways, but I watch comfort movies. I'm not kidding. There's a list on my phone, on my like notes app, and it's called comfort movies. And it's I can return back to these movies at least once a year, and they feel nice and cozy and comforting.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay. If you don't mind putting you have to put all the movies, but putting some of those movies on the Substack. And this way you can maybe give people a little jump start on their list of comfort movies. I love that idea. I've never thought of that. I have encouraged people to put together a playlist, like music playlist for when they are, whatever's going to calm them when they're feeling really agitated. If they're sad, what helps them enter into that sadness in a healthy way. So playlists like that, but I love the movie thing.
Wait, okay. I'll share one of my movies. Share one of your songs. What's on your playlist for your comfort?
So for me is when I am, so I go to gospel music. I will just look for gospel music when I am feeling just like kind of beside myself. There's something about gospel music that addresses the weariness, but there's like a resilience in it. There's a joy, there's like we will overcome kind of a thing in there. So I feel like there's a marrying of the two, of like just like powerful voices in the midst of what is like heavy and wrong. So gospel is like my strand to go to. And then salsa music is another one because it really engages dance for me. And I just start it reminds me more of like my childhood. So that's more comforting in that, more of my childhood, listening to some of that. So, yeah.
Oh, I love that. Those are so different than what would be on mine, I think. I'll think about what would go on my playlist. But no, salsa music, not on mine, but that's amazing.
Well, because I remember like growing up when we'd clean the house or something, we'd put on the salsa music and we're cleaning the house. And it's a typical like thing you probably see on different reels where it takes you forever to clean the house because you end up dancing with the broom or the mop or something. Like, this was my childhood. Like, this is what we did. So, I love that. Okay, so I have another like really like tangible one. So I love that you brought something like that too. my daughter and I bought this thing called a brick. It's this square little device. It works for multiple phones. And what you do is you set whatever setting. So you know how on your phone you can set your focus setting so you can turn off certain apps. But there's always a workaround. Like I can just say, no, give me 15 more minutes or whatever, right? Like you can work around. So this, you put the setting and then you swipe your phone next to the brick and it bricks your phone. So now I can't, unless I go back to the brick, scan it, I can't get into those different apps. So I've set it up. So what I've been doing is that before I go upstairs to go to bed, I brick my phone, which means the only things that everything, I can't have access to anything. No games, no social media. There's only very specific things that I can have access to, so that I'm not doing any kind of doom scrolling or whatever, like when I'm on, like in bed. But the most important thing is when I wake up in the morning, it's bricked. So I can't automatically go and start checking emails from my phone. I can't look at social media. I'm not like, I don't do that. I have to go downstairs to the device to unbrick it. So it's just shifted how I start the mornings. And we did it. And I recognize, because I've said this to someone, like I recognize, well, isn't that where like willpower comes in? And here's the reality of things. I have tremendous willpower. I do not have an endless amount of willpower. Right. And so I'm going to choose how I'm going to budget the willpower I have. And I don't want to put that energy into my willpower with my phone first thing in the morning, And so it was really inexpensive. And so we have this little brick. I have to show it to you, and I'll link it in the Substack. I think I saw another company that's coming out with something like that. But people use it for different things. When my daughter leaves, so she goes to study, she goes to like one of the coffee places nearby. She bricks her phone before she leaves, and she's this way she's not distracted. And then when she comes home, she unbricks it. She's like, it's just one less thing my mind has to fight against wanting to do. You know?
That's really good. And that's a good reminder that like decision fatigue is a thing, right? So it's kind of like, how do we set up at least our daily lives in a way that really honors the things we want to be present to and puts limits, appropriate limits in whatever version that means for me, on the things that need limits. And I think what you're describing is so true, that like, if I don't want to be making that exact same decision every single morning when I'm rolling out of bed, when my faculties aren't even as present as, they will be in an hour, then, before I've had my coffee or whatever you do, I think there's like some wisdom in, we got to figure it out for ourselves, because no one else is going to.
No, exactly.
That's great.
All right. Well, this has been a really good talk. I came up with some good ideas. I love being able to hear different like perspectives and how we navigate that, different personality types. And we hope that this has been really helpful for our listeners as well. And just a reminder, go check out the Substack, the Serene-ish podcast.substack.com. And we're going to be putting some resources in there to help you out. And if there's things that you want to hear, you'd love us to be able to talk about, put those things in the chat right there, and we are going to be taking note and having conversations moving forward. We'd love to be able to talk about what is the things going on in your life. But until then, we will talk to you again soon, and have a wonderful, praying, undistracted time. But remember that we're not aiming for 100% serene. Serene-ish is okay too, because life happens.